So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to turn you over to our training team at PCDC.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Julie Barnes, and I will tell you more in a minute. But if folks can stand up, we're just going to do a little bit of stretching. If you are chewing, finish chewing, and if your body's like, I just want to sit in my chair, you can just sit and chill. That's fine. So feet about hip width apart, and we'll just inhale, take the hands up overhead. I have an unhappy body from too much car time. Exhale, arms down. Yeah. Just a few nice slow breaths. Good, and the next time arms are up, we're just going to catch right wrist with the left hand, a little lean to the side, maybe shake your head no. And then switch it up, other side. And coming back to the center, twisting to the right. So arms reach away. You can swivel your wrists and wiggle your fingers a little bit. And then back through the middle to the other side. This is probably the biggest room I've had in a long time, so we have space. Inhaling, arms up, and exhaling. Just bend your knees. We're just going to fold forward gently. I don't know how this mic is going to do. And when you get there, just keeping your knees soft. You can do a little sway from side to side, maybe shaking your head yes. If you have any stress that's living in your shoulders or your face, see if you can just kind of sigh it out. Good, and then bend the knees a little more, and like a slinky, just rolling back up to stand. Head comes up last. And then feet a little wider apart than the hips, and just a little kind of side to side swing. Good, and then let that kind of slow itself down. And we'll put the feet back closer together. Last time, just taking arms overhead and bringing hands down to the heart. You can either close your eyes or look at the floor. And just take a minute to arrive in this hotel ballroom on a Tuesday morning, just feeling the floor under your feet, feeling the air on your skin. See if you can feel your breath. Just appreciating everything it took to get to this place today. And if you have any worries, distractions that may call your attention away, just see if you can put them to the side for the next chunk of time and bring yourself as fully as you can to our conversation today. So the next time you breathe out, just relax your arms, let your eyes open up, and we can sit down. Good morning. So I want to start us off with a poem, which is hopefully here in my pile of papers. I think sometimes the poems get to the heart of it in a way that our more heady conversation doesn't. So some of you may have heard this one before. It's called To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first without dallying in the shallows and swim off with shore strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands and crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn or put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real. So I'm happy we have this space and time to have a conversation, sort of going a little bit deeper into what our overlapping work is about and how to approach it in ways that are maybe less stressful, maybe more collaborative, maybe just different than what some of our habits are that we develop under stress. So I want to just get a sense of who is here, but we're going to just do this by stand up, sit down to start. So I'm going to read something, and if it applies to you, just stand up for a minute. We'll take a look around, and then you can sit, just related to work stuff. So if you've ever left work feeling proud of how you were able to help a client, stand up. Good. Yeah, my expectation is you would have found another job if this was not true, at least some of the time for everyone in the room. So you can sit. Stand up if you've ever had a client you wished you could give to someone else. Yep. In good company. Stand up if you, let's see, brought your work home and spent some of your personal time worrying about a client. Yay for the people with good boundaries who are sitting down. Stand up if you thought about finding a job that was easier or paid better. You can sit. Stand up if you have grieved a client who has died. Thank you. And stand up if you have ever felt grateful at how meaningful the work that you do is. Thanks, everybody. So many common experiences in the room. I think because we are a larger group, rather than having everyone introduce themselves, I would like you to introduce yourselves at tables. So if you can just share with the people that you're sitting with, what do I want you to say? Your name, what pronouns you prefer to use, what role you play and what agency, and also what your favorite breakfast food is. So I'll give you just a couple minutes to talk to each other. We have a chatty group of 3 over there, which is excellent. So if from here on when we speak, if folks can just say who you are, and maybe the first time you say who you are, just tell us where you work, just so we can kind of start to learn names. I think by the end of today, we'll probably have a better handle on it. So any favorite breakfast foods you'd like to share? Waffles. Others? Coffee, bagels, but specific bagels. What?
We were oatmeal.
Well, it's not. I feel like we're not into oatmeal weather yet, but we will get there. Yeah? All right, you guys start earlier up here, I guess. So, by way of kind of creating this space, I just want to kind of set some ground rules, and I'll just go over these for you all briefly. If there's anything that you want to add or anything you have questions or concerns about, please feel free to raise them. We're going to, so they're recording us? Yeah. Yeah, totally. I will probably use this at some point, but not right now. Okay, please don't jump off the easel. So a few things. So starting off with confidentiality, can someone explain in a training context what that means? And Mike, will you take the mic to whoever wants to talk? If we can just get in the habit of talking in a bigger group, it will be better, because if you have to listen to me for more than about 20 minutes at a time, you'll wish you didn't have to. So talk, someone, please.
I don't need a mic. I would just say, said here, stays here.
Yeah. Yeah, so to me what it means is if you're speaking about clients in here, no identifying information, please. If you're speaking about colleagues, bosses, other folks, again, try to protect their privacy to the extent that you can do that. And just knowing, I don't know all the details about the videoing. There are certain pieces that I'm going to ask him to turn the camera off so that we don't have to feel at all inhibited in what gets said. I think the benefit of the videoing is other people can get what's the good stuff from what we're up to, but I think if there's anything that you have any concerns about where it would go in that way, just think about framing things in the most confidential way possible. And you know, I don't know how small the communities are here, but a lot of places I work, people know each other and they work together, and so just being thoughtful about keeping information in here I think is really important. So tech etiquette, to me that means if you can turn your phone off, please turn your phone off. If you can turn the sound, please turn the sound off and double check everybody right now. I'm going to do the same thing because people are like, oh, I checked, and then we have 3 phones singing in the middle of the presentation. And if there's something that you need to deal with, so you get a text, you have a call, it's fine to step out, but please don't answer emails under the table. It's like an energetic drain for the whole group, and I know life happens, so just feel free, come out, come back, okay? Step up, step back. What does that mean? You've been to trainings before? Anybody?
If you're talking too much, stop. And if you're not talking enough, speak up.
Yeah, so if we think about just trying to share the floor. So some of us, I think, learn by talking. And so if you're a learn by talking person, you may not realize how much you've been talking. So being mindful of that. And if you're one of our more learn by listening and observation people, if you could, you know, throw us a pearl of wisdom once or twice a day, that is much appreciated. One Diva, One Mic, that's how the youth program, one of the youth programs I work with, names it, just one person talking at a time, so we can be paying attention to each other. Respectful listening, agree to disagree. I think, to me it's important that there's space for different perspectives and to agree about things, to disagree about things that maybe are important, and that we can stay in a place that is respectful and cordial around that. Don't yuck my yum. I also didn't make that one up, but I like it, which is to say, if there's something that I am moved by and works for me and doesn't make sense to you, you don't need to criticize or, you know, react to that, but that it's about just respecting differences and honoring that what works for one person may not work for somebody else. Take a positive risk. So ideally we're trying to create a safe space so that if there are things that you need to talk about or try, if there are questions you've had that you have been holding, that you can come and get what you need, but that may involve, you know, a little bit of stretching outside of where you usually stay. So that's an invitation just to, what do I want to say, do something different. Get your needs met. So if we're talking about something that has nothing to do with your work, ask a question, try to make the connection. If it's something you already know, chime in and help me flesh out what we're talking about. If you're totally lost, don't pretend that you know what's going on. Like, stop us and make sure that we try to stay together in terms of everybody getting something productive out of the conversation. I know we have a diverse group in terms of what people's goals are and levels of experience. So it was a little tricky in putting the material together to figure out, okay, how do we do this? But help me if I'm losing you in one way or another. And the last one is have fun. You know, people are like, how can you have fun? We're talking about depressing topics. And I'm like, no, it's great. It's good stuff. It's heavy stuff at times, but I'm hopeful that there's enough activity and practice and participation and conversation that it will be, at least some of the time, enjoyable. Comments or questions, additions about any of that? Okay. I'm going to blind myself with this thing here. So you all have the agenda. We had a bit of a FedEx snafu with the rest of the handouts, so I'm very hopeful that they'll be here shortly. But you have what you need, at least to have some idea of what we're doing. So if you all look here, I know some people are like, I need to know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. So this is approximate. I reserve the right to tweak the times, a little bit of lunch and breaks. But I will promise we will have a 15-minute morning and afternoon break, and lunch will be an hour and 15 minutes, so you can walk and enjoy the yumminess of this very small place. So the plan for this morning is to talk some about mental health, both concepts that apply to work with clients and concepts that apply to us as humans as well. We'll take a break and do some practicing around some of that stuff. Then we'll do lunch, and the afternoon, the first part of our afternoon, we'll be talking about harm reduction, and the second part more about specific drugs and strategies for working with drug users. And we'll wrap up and be out of here right around 4. And for tomorrow, we will be talking about coordinating care across agencies first thing in the morning, and then doing some peer consultation, lunch, and then our afternoon will be a little bit about strategies for working with homeless clients, and then a chunk of practice time, and same deal, we'll be done by 4. All good? Okay. Let's see where we are here. So, and the learning goals have too many words on them. I'm going to have to use bold or something the next time. But this is the ambitious plan for these days. So, hoping to build on the skills and knowledge that you already have in terms of coordinating care for people with multiple complicated health situations and barriers. Helping folks get a deeper understanding and more confidence in using both motivational interviewing and harm reduction, which I assume people have some exposure to already. I want to share with you the Healthy Conversations curriculum, which you'll get chunks of, but I also brought a full copy. If some of you were on the webinar in August, we looked at this a little bit, so I want to share it with you. It's a really lovely, free, friendly resource. So to think about how to use that curriculum in a practical way, to think about how to work more flexibly and collaboratively with clients that are tricky and that push our buttons in different ways, to think about how we, what do I want to say, work on being self-reflective and working with our own stuff, to be more able and aware of both personal and structural barriers that impact our clients, so kind of trying to hold a broad view of where they're at and why it is that they are where they are. And also just spending some time talking about and acknowledging our challenges as providers and sort of how we approach those, to think about, how do we sustain doing the work in a quality way long term. So that's the plan, such as it is. Yeah, hopefully my little clicky thing will come too when the handouts come. So ideally we're doing some peer learning, we're sharing practical tools, we're building on what you know already. The conversations that we're having will connect back with your work, and that things are collaborative. So, when PCDC said to me, can you write an advanced training? I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? And as we talked about it more, I think to me it just means that we acknowledge the experience in the room and really try to draw on what you know and the work that you've done in a kind of collegial environment. So hopefully it will be a good back and forth exchange of information, both between all of you and back and forth this way as well.